Yeah. Hi, I'm Melinda Jacobs, trauma therapist, health coach.
I'm Karen Fagan, licensed professional counselor and owner of Psyched In. And we are therapists who swear a lot.
Healers who like to swear a lot. Yeah.
Whatever. It's a day,
I like
Melinda. It's a day. You're a therapist. You're a therapist
I like
too.
Therapists. Maybe we should change the title, Karen. Therapists who swear a lot.
I like healers who swear a lot. I don't know. We'll have to discuss. Let's get input. Anybody who sees this, give us input.
Which do you like better? Which is more irreverent and which is funnier to you? Because that's what we're really going for.
It started off as therapists, and then Melinda is a coach and I'm a therapist. So we went with healers, but I forgot because I forget things.
That's okay. Well, Karen, I was, before we started, I was telling Karen that I went to go see Jay Shetty this weekend, who is a podcaster and has this On Purpose podcast. And I got to see him live. And he did this really cool thing with the audience and did some really amazing things. And so the first thing he did was he did this very motivational talk, as they do, and really talked about the inner voices that we have that keep us held back. And so he went out in the audience and had people share personally. Now, this guy was a monk for 10 years. And then he went on, and his passion, his purpose is to bring ancient wisdom from the teachings and trainings of monkdom, whatever that is. I don't know what kind of
monkinism,
right? And to bring that into the modern world through this platform of podcasting, to bring kindness into the world. And he went to multiple people and they're like, yeah, no, that's not going to fly. And now he's one of the most popular podcasters and very, very successful, very, very known in, I don't know, like over 200 countries. I don't know how many countries, a lot. So he went out in the audience and he has this warmth about him and he has this authenticity that really allowed people to open into their own authenticity and go into a deep, painful place quickly. It was impressive. Like I was just like, wow, that was awesome. That's cool. And he got them to share, like, what's the thing that holds you back? What's the voice say? And so, I'm not good enough and, all the messaging. And so he brought one of the people up on stage and he put noise canceling headphones on her. And he said, I want you to go into that place where those messages are going loud. So she went into a deep, painful place. And then they're noise canceling headphones. And I want these because that was amazing. And so he's talking to the audience. She can't hear. And she's on stage. And so he asked the audience, based on the conversation that we just had with her, what's your perception? What word comes to you that describes her? And, courageous and brave and authentic, all the positive stuff. And so he had them write it on a card and brought the cards to her. And that was really, really cool, because I think that we do have some pretty destructive voices in our heads that do limit us. And then he brought out a special guest. And that's the whole thing about the live podcast, is it's a mystery. You don't know what special guest you're going to get. And so he brought out Dr. Ramani. I don't know her last name. And she is a specialist that does therapy and counseling for people dealing with narcissist problems. So Karen, what do you think about this generalized, overused term of they're a narcissist? Karen's got some opinions.
I have opinions. I think it perpetuates a victim mentality, because the popular, I don't know if I'd say popular wisdom, but the popular party line, I guess, is they're a narcissist. You can't deal with them. It's not your fault. So it sort of is a get out of jail free card for you not to manage your own behavior. And I think that's the wrong message. I think you can do a lot. Narcissists are actually pretty easy if you know how to work them.
Got any clues for people who might be struggling with a narcissist in their life? Because I've had my own personal narcissist that was not easy for me to get out of. It was deeply painful, and I did need help. I really needed help to get out of that.
You can't control them. I mean, and it sort of depends on the degree of sociopathy that you're dealing with. But when you recognize that their baseline is optics, everything is projection, and everything is how I'm seen
And perceived.
and perceived. And which is why it makes it so hard, because in the beginning you get that love bombing thing, but that feels wonderful, but it's all about, I am doing all of these amazing things for you because I love the reflection. I love when I do these amazing things and you feel great and you tell me how great I am.
The adoration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it's not deep. But
No.
I have this technique I refer to as activating your inner sociopath, and this works with everybody, but it's especially fun with narcissists.
So before you go into the technique, because I think this is something that we really want to kind of dive into. There was one distinction that I really appreciated, because I think you're right. Like the labels, I think people get a little too willy-nilly with calling people narcissists, and I did love this distinction that Dr. Ramani gave the group, is that she agreed that maybe this is a little bit of an overused term. Now, the person that I had the really hard time getting out with, clinical narcissist, clinical, which means it's a personality disorder. But and like you were saying, there's degrees of it. But she made this distinction is sometimes, a lack of emotional intelligence, which is more of an immaturity, where they're more like a teenager and they're just a little more self-centered and a little more selfish and a little more unwilling. Like some people will use the term narcissist, but what they really mean is that they just don't have a very high emotional intelligence and they're just a little more self-centered. I loved that distinction. That was really, really helpful.
I can't remember who it was, but I heard someone recently say that there were 3 different causations for narcissism. I used to talk about 2. Now I have 3. But it's one of them is actually would talk about the most common ones that I see in my office. I don't see the third one very often. The first one is just a sociopathic kind of narcissist, and that is the person. Honestly, I just think there's a few people who they got a wire loose, and they're not built like people, and they don't have a capacity for empathy. These people are serial killers, or the non-murderous social like to serial killers. Anyway, the second kind is a trauma-based narcissist. And this person learns to take everything and be very self-protective, which eliminates the ability to consider the needs of the other. And the third is the one that you're talking about, is what I call the clueless narcissist, is the person who just doesn't know any better. And like developmentally, they're still at like 3 or 4 years old, and it's all me, 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 me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are great distinctions. So you said that you've got a technique, you call it activating your
inner sociopath.
Awesome. I would love to know about my inner sociopath.
This works for more than just narcissists. It's really good with lots of different kinds of people, difficult people, because what we want to do is we want to bring healthy energy and healthy communication strategies and assertiveness and boundaries and all of that stuff. But it's really hard, because when someone's coming at us with like every nastiness in the book, it's really tough to keep the high road. It feels like giving up. It feels like being a doormat sometimes, to just sort of maintain that sense of calm and centeredness. But if you do it with the energy of, this is going to drive them crazy.
Oh, no, don't
Like,
do that.
I am going to do this completely boundaried, healthy thing and invite them to a higher level of relationship. And then I'm going to watch their head fall off.
That's
you get the energy to do it. It comes, like if you're recording it with a video camera, it looks the same because you're saying the healthy boundary thing, right, but you're using that energy to get it out there. And again, this isn't a long-term thing, because most of the time when you start setting limits with something like this, I mean, depending on who it is, right? If it's a trauma-based narcissist or a developmental kind of thing, and they're interested in moving up, they will. And that's really nice. Mm-hmm. But the more of the sociopathic people, they'll just leave. Once you start setting limits, they'll exit stage left.
Absolutely, they will. And I think that's the thing, is that total disengagement. And when I finally disengaged, actually this painting was was my reward when I finally absolutely disengaged without needing any closure conversation, without, I mean, close the door and walk away and nail that fucker shut. Like,
it's so hard to do that.
It was hard. And I have to say, it was like I lost a whole community. Because he was a more of the malignant kind of narcissist. He had manipulated in a way where I got isolated, and he was controlling all of that. Unbeknownst to me, I found out after the fact that he had isolated me in that way. I was unaware of it, but this is how it felt. Was this just, I'm free? But it was devastating. It took me like 18 months.
For sure. Because, and that's the hard part, because to people like you and myself, that absolute, like, hardcore close and lock the door, you don't get a say in it,
right,
feels narcissistic.
I hadn't considered that, but yep, sure does.
Like, I'm closing the door and I'm not even giving you an opportunity.
Absolutely not.
Feels narcissistic. And
to me, it felt, there was that sense of, it felt like self-preservation. Like I was so on the edge. I was really into suicidal ideation. Like I was so deep into it. And so to me, that was my last thing. It was either leave the planet or walk away with no closure, lose my quote unquote family group, all of that. And so, yeah, it was really interesting, but I just kind of love how you just put that.
Yeah, I always say selfishness is like salt, and narcissism, right, is like salt. Too much is not good. Too little is not good. You got to find just the right amount.
And I think that
remembering that you can fix them, like that's my thing. I find the trauma-based ones, and I just try to fix them, and I'm understanding. And I think if I just love them enough, yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't work. We're kind of at time, but I'm curious, like if you have someone that if you or someone you know might be in one of these relationships and you'd like to talk to Karen and want to tap into your inner sociopath, there's her information. I have a little bit of a different approach. Mine's more of an energetic, and I also do the hypnotherapy cellular release, because I believe our beliefs is part of what keeps us entangled. So if you want that kind of approach, here's my information. But I teach more of an energetic, how to disconnect yourself and how to match them. And so this is my version, Karen, of tapping into my inner sociopath. There's a frequency and a vibration in which they operate, which is actually pretty low. Now, we think of low frequency as bad. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's just low frequency. Like, it's just, it's powerful. And what people tend to do is they try to go high and be all good. And that creates a current like that. And the farther you get apart, I can't demonstrate that, the more energy that keeps you bound. And so I teach people how to do this. Match their frequency, they're going to lose interest and you're going to feel more powerful. So,
Say more. That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have an example of match their energy?
So it's an interesting thing, and I teach this in my highly sensitive class about learning how to modulate your frequency from high to low. And I think of it like if you could imagine the vibration and frequency of a cello, nice and low and deep, and versus a violin that's a much higher. And so what people tend to do is think of it as good and bad. But if you could imagine emanating a violin or a cello, a cello from your pelvis, like this really low frequency, and you're just looking at like where are they match, where are they? And if you could just match it. And the interesting thing, and it takes some time and there's a little bit of training, like that is a real simplified explanation. But the interesting thing is whoever's holding the lowest frequency wins. They're going to win in court. They're going to win in an argument. The low frequency, because low frequency is power. And so I would be able to, I played this one little game with myself. I went to an MMA fight and there were 7 fights, and they would put the contenders this up on the screen, and based on whoever was holding the lowest frequency, I would be like, they're going to win, they're going to win, they're going to win. And 7 for 7. I can do this. You can do the same thing for the Super Bowl. Whoever comes out with the lowest frequency, they're going to win.
And maybe this is a topic for next week, but I would be fascinated to know how you tell.
It's a training and it's a feeling, and it's really, this is a big conversation, and my highly sensitive thriving guide, like that's a big class. But if you think of low frequency as like who has a healthy low frequency, they're like, the people in high power. Putin, that's a low frequency. A bomb, that's low frequency. But there's also, you could also, it also feels like strength. Someone that comes in with a commanding respect, like a judge. They come in, people of authority hold lower frequencies. And again, like this is where I think people who are of a spiritual nature really fuck it up, is they think spiritual high frequency, good, low frequency, bad. And that's not true. And generally, do I like to live in the higher frequencies, like the angelic realms? Those are very high frequency. Angels and fairies and light and happy, those are high frequencies. But it's not good. It's not better. It's just high. So yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's a big conversation.
Well, but think about it, and maybe that's our topic for next week. Because I want to know more. I mean, my experience with a lot of the stuff we talk about is you say this thing and I'm like, oh, I have no idea what that is. And then you talk about it and I'm like, oh, I do have an idea what that is. But this one, I'm still like boggled. I'm like, ooh.
So here's a great example. We'll finish with this. You as a playful mom, let's play hide and seek. That's high. That's a high.
Never.
You're playing with your kids. It's effervescent. It's a birthday party. It's light. It's easy. It's just that's high frequency. Low frequency is someone is coming after your kid and you step in and you're like, don't you dare touch my child. That's low frequency. Can you feel the difference? Like, yeah. Don't. And so with boundaries, what I see with people with boundaries is they try to hold boundaries, but they're doing it in a fucking high frequency. I'm like, that's not a boundary. That's like, don't do that. Stop. Which is really different than no.
Okay.
That's learning to modulate your frequency.
That makes absolute sense.
And there you go. And when dealing with a narcissist, you can match them.
Yeah.
And there's just no current, there's no energy to be harvested in that because there's no energetic polarization. I mean, that's what a battery is, right? A low and a high, and it creates a current.
Yeah.
We're doing that in relationships.
That makes total sense.
Yep. I love blowing Karen's mind.
It's so easy.
To blow your mind. No.
Well, but I do. I mean, I approach the world with this sense of like, wow, really? Is that low or high?
Curiosity. I would say that's kind of a high frequency. Like,
oh, yeah, tell me more.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. All right.
Cool.
What's your takeaway, Karen?
I learned about high and low frequency, and I can really, your explanation was so great. And I can really relate that to, especially how I come in with clients. And I really need to think about that more in my personal life. Like matching energy. I tend to just like show up however I show up, but being more intentional about that sort of thing, especially in conflict.
Yeah, I think my takeaway is what you said about, using labels as a way to get yourself off the hook and not take personal responsibility for the situation that you're fucking perpetuating.
Yeah, it's all about balance, because if this person is narcissistic and you've been in a relationship with them, you're tolerating it.
That's right. There is an out. There is help. And sometimes it's okay to say, I don't know how to get out of this, because this relationship was 8 years of I didn't know how to get out. But I got out. So again, if you need some help, there's Karen's information. If you want some energetic or kind of a different approach, here's mine. Would love to support you out of that chaos.
Fabulous.
Reclaim your life.
I got to go think about this now for a long time.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next Monday night.
Bye.
Bye.